Hey YouTube, what is going on? Thank you all so much for checking out this edition of Impact Showdown with your host right here, Lee Sanders, for this Thursday night of April 27th, 2017. We are just a couple of days away from this month of April being in the books, and Cinco de Mayo. A lot of you guys are looking forward to that. Hey, man, we're on live right now talking about fallout from tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling. So make sure you get in on the discussion. Let me know what you had thought about of this week's episode. Hey, live right now, you know how to get at me. And if it's your first time, welcome. If you like to talk of Impact Wrestling, you are in the right place. As always, make sure you give me a follow and a like as well. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook at the RCWR Show. Give the page over at Facebook a like. Love staying connected with you guys. Hey, I love this episode that we got tonight, man. I love the introductions. Finally, we got to see V.O.W, Veterans of War. Was under the impression we were going to be checking them out last week. Nah, but we definitely had got them on this very week. We had been hearing the teases off and on for the past couple of weeks, but this episode finally saw the debut of the Global Force Wrestling Women's Champion, Christina Von Errie. I know I had teased you guys last week. I was supposed to come right back and tell you all who the woman was, but honestly, I thought about it a little bit more, and I'm like, well, you all are probably going to find out next week. Whatever. So I actually didn't tell you guys on purpose. So don't think I had forgot. I just went on ahead and purposely had skipped the revelation because kind of wanted you all to be a little bit surprised yourself if you really didn't take the time out to do the research. But yeah, let's kick it off, man. I got my notes as always. Get at me. I got the chat. Twitter. I am paying attention to what you guys are saying. So I like how the show honestly had kicked off. We saw JB and we saw my man, the Pulp, D'Angelo De Niro, kicking it off. No Josh Matthews. You going, all right, well, I guess Josh got his tail tucked between his legs. He took a nice good punch to the face by JB last week. He's probably not going to be showing up. Yeah, nah, come on. You knew Josh Matthews wasn't going to be taking that sitting down, right? I know you knew better than to think Josh was just going to sit that bad boy out. Come on now, you know better than that. But yeah, Josh, he did show up. And pretty much he had a really nice, cool intro. I loved it. Had a nice kind of cool rock ballad going on. For some weird reason, when I was hearing the song, I'm like, man, what does that song remind me of? That song reminds me of something. I just can't quite put my finger on it. Who the hell sings that song? Because it sounded like they were really sampling the hell out of somebody. But does anybody remember that cool vintage song back in the day? Slow hand stroking. I mean, that's how it kind of sounded. It had a nice little vibe like that. But at the same time, you also heard like these angry birds. You heard like these angry chirps that was going on in the background. So I thought that was brilliant how they had composed that, how they put it all together. Because like as soon as you see Josh Matthews' video graphic package, that was really awesome. It basically had like a tweet that was up there. And then you had the Facebook thumbs down. I mean, you just like, I loved it. It was like the most simplistic yet very effective Josh Matthews video Titantron giant. I loved it, seeing him come out. I tell you, man, I gave him a compliment on Twitter. I said, my God, Josh Matthews, just the way he continues to troll the crowd each and every single week. Tonight was no exception. He was just trolling the Impact crowd really good, and I actually loved it. And I tell you, if you have gotten to that point where like you can't separate the man from the actor, then I feel sorry for you guys, because honestly, what he's been doing for like the past couple of months with this, just the slow seeds that he's been planting and like how everything is where it is right now, he has just naturally, brilliantly gotten himself over as somebody you just want to punch in the freaking face oh so bad. And I really love that, man. I love the job that he's doing. It took a while for it to grow on me, but like I said a couple of weeks ago, and I know my opinion has changed. I don't want you guys kind of going, nah, at least flip flopping. There is such thing as an opinion changing. Yes, when it first started off, I really wasn't quite sure the direction that it was going. It reminded me so much of a watered down version of what Michael Cole was doing at that other company. But then, like, the more and more time that progressed, and I got to see Josh Matthews really start playing around with this, really making it his own, you're almost kind of given a little bit of shades, if you will, of what Josh Matthews possibly might have been like if his in-ring wrestling career would have gone just a little bit further as he would have liked it to have gone. So I love what he's been able to do with this, quite honestly. But yeah, he came on down. He had a attorney that was with him. The attorney, I did not catch the name. Actually, no, I did catch the name. The name of the referee, oh, not referee, forgive me, guys. I'm thinking something else, but there's a reason why I'm thinking that. No, the name of the attorney was Raphael Morphy, except it was spelled differently. And anybody that knows like what's going on with Impact Wrestling's personnel, if you actually type that name, you'll like see images of the guy that was beside Josh on tonight's episode, and you'll actually be redirected to his Twitter page. And that name, it's spelled differently, but once you get the correct spelling of that name, he should really jump out to you if you are kind of one of those people that like figuring out who's part of the personnel for certain promotions. And in this guy's case, he had spent about 12 years working for the WWE. His track record, it speaks large volumes. Marketing to the extreme. For those of you that may be a little bit curious, he spent 12 years with the WWE, basically acting as their senior director, live event marketing. He's also been doing his thing just to kind of get you guys a little bit caught up to speed. I'm not going all overkill, but he actually handles media relations. He also handles agent and event operations for Ringside with Jim Ross. He also has his own respected production company called Signature Move Productions. It's pretty much been active since October of last year. They specialize in event booking, operations, marketing, promotions, publicity, talent, relations management. And he's pretty much been doing the same thing with Impact Wrestling. He's pretty much been doing that now for about a little over a year plus, I would have to say. He is serving right now, not at that full blown capacity, but mainly right now, what he's been doing for Impact, he's been serving as their live event tour manager production team. He's been doing that for Anthem Wrestling exhibitions, and just a little bit of a brief description on what he's doing, as it really is brief. He basically handles the live event operations, project production, with regards to talent relations, supervision. He also assists in event planning, pre-production, and program on-site management for the shows that's taking place at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, every single week. He also coordinates, organizes the on-site filming of the TV show segments with production staff. And he's also served, as I just told you, as the tour manager for Impact Wrestling during their live event tour in Manchester in the UK. He's also the tour's primary live event contact with venues, hotels, local transportation. He's pretty much the guy that gets everything going. And he's actually been receiving a lot of great praise for his work since joining Impact Wrestling a good while back. So just in case that guy kind of looked a little bit familiar to you all, now you know, especially like if you like following a bunch of people from certain promotions, personal and all that, if his face looked familiar, now you know. But he acted as a attorney tonight on behalf of Josh Matthews, but Josh pretty much had dismissed him. He pretty much read to JB a statement that basically said he was suspended, JB that is, right there on the spot for that physical altercation that had went down last week. And the way it's looking right now, JB is suspended. I don't want to say indefinitely, but the way you're kind of led, you're under the impression that that's it for JB, at least for now. Right before he was sent exiting out of the arena, we actually had saw him have a few short words with the Pope, D'Angelo De Niro, and Pope whispered something to him, like some type of a brainstorming idea or what. Maybe it was, hey, you need to contact a really good lawyer. Who knows? But the way JB kind of reacted after whatever was said to him, it was a whisper, so we really didn't get to hear what was going down. JB just kind of had a look on his face like, okay, I'm going to be able to squash this, no problem. But hey, as far as tonight goes, it is what it is. And I love how they actually had played that up, because JB basically was saying, as long as I've been with the company, like I've been with the company for 15 years and I've never missed an Impact Wrestling show. Well, it was going to be his first time, wink, wink, so to speak. So that pretty much was the end of JB, at least for tonight. We definitely did not see him for the rest of the night. We had our very first matchup. We had saw Matt Sydal. Yes, Matt Sydal, formerly known as Evan Bourne in the WWE. We had saw him make his Impact Wrestling debut. He successfully had a pretty good, strong opening match against Trevor Lee. I actually had enjoyed that match. I got to pause a second and I got to friendly, just politely, without being totally a dick, I got to remind you guys that when it comes to Thursday nights, this is our little slice of heaven. We are talking nothing but Impact Wrestling. I may make a few references here and there, like what I just did with Matt Sydal, but for the most part, we're talking Impact Wrestling. So I know we got listeners that like to tune into the RCWR show, and then they come here and they think, I'm going to continue the dialogue of WWE talk. I'm sorry, my friends, but all I'm talking is Impact. Now, however, if you got a question that's not Impact Wrestling related and you want to forward it to maybe the RCWR show for next week, you can do that. You can send it, whether it's in the comment section. Unfortunately, I'm not going to see it. If you guys are checking this out live via YouTube, I'm not going to see it in post-production. I can only see chats in real time, and then after that, it automatically dissolves. Not my doing. That's just the way basically YouTube sets it up. So you can get at me, send the question via Twitter or on Facebook, and I'll definitely forward it to that next show. I'm only spending a few minutes saying that because I just noticed a comment in the chat that's talking about WWE, and it's like, you're in the wrong place if you're talking WWE. So going forward, any references to WWE that's not tied into what we're talking about with tonight's Impact Wrestling, it automatically gets removed. Just letting you guys know. All right. So anyway, sorry about that, but now we're done with that. Thank you for indulging me. So we saw Matt Sydal, as I mentioned, he made his Impact Wrestling debut. I know he had a tough break when he was over in the WWE. He had that unfortunate accident that occurred, and he was on the injury reserve list for a long period of time. And I tell you, the timing of it, it just came at like one of the most crappiest times. But, you know, if you could say anything really cool about the WWE, it's awesome that they did not like decide to get rid of him while he was still injured. They did their very best. They put all the best money and resources to get him the necessary operation that he needed, rehab that he needed. And then once he pretty much was like back up to 100%, they decided they wanted to go in a different direction. But hey, at least he was 100% healthy. And I actually saw his shoot interview that he did with Kayfabe Commentaries talking about the whole ordeal. And he just, nothing bad to say about the WWE, at least at that standpoint. I don't know if maybe his opinion has changed of the company since, but at that standpoint, he was like, they were total pros in the way that they did business with me. And I saw a little bit of his work when he went over to Ring of Honor briefly. Wasn't quite really feeling that. Don't ask me why, but I really wasn't feeling that. I know he's briefly kind of had a little bit of a run-in, so to speak, with Jeff Jarrett in the GFW promotion. But I'm actually pretty ecstatic to see him with Impact Wrestling. I see a lot of good things happening for him. And given his style of wrestling, my man, by the way, still has one of the most prettiest shooting star presses from the top rope that you will ever see. I love it. Still got that finesse. Still got that great agile, that great hang time. I love it. He still got it. That's actually how he had defeated my man Trevor Lee, despite the fact that Hurricane Shane Helms tried to get in there. That didn't work, but that was actually a really good, strong opener. Love that one. I tell you, if Matt Seidel thinks about going storyline wise for that X Division title, that'd be a really great transition. But with a guy with that type of look, that type of build, really great physique. You don't just have to limit him to the X division. You can pretty much use this guy wherever you need a guy. So I like the great timing of that. Welcome, Matt Seidel, to Impact Wrestling. From there, Ethan Carter III, he took to the middle of the ring, following up on the actions that had occurred from last week's episode. And he pretty much had told the Impact crowd that he's marinated a lot on what Bruce Pritchard had said to him last week, and that he did take, in fact, a good hard look in the mirror at himself. And as far as what he saw, he basically saw a man that has been running roughshod and Impact Wrestling for the past couple of years. What he saw in the mirror was the ass kicking machine that was undefeated for a significant amount of time upon making his debut at Impact Wrestling. What he sees is a man, and I loved how he just started referring to himself in third person, basically saying EC3. I see EC3 going the Slammiversary, and without a shadow of doubt, is going to become Impact Wrestling champion yet again. And I love the nice cheap shots that he basically took at the new management, basically saying to them, gone are the days where you all continue to overlook me. From here on now, I'm just going to start taking what I feel is rightfully mine. He also took shots at the crowd, basically saying to them, to those of you that wanted to see, oh, EC3, he was so much better when he was a bad guy. He pretty much had told the fans, and I couldn't help but chuckle when I was hearing it. I did not take it personal because I know I sat on this very show off and on the past couple of weeks. I definitely have been saying it off and on the past couple of months on my other show, where I've said, man, honestly, I just missed the old EC3. I want to see the old EC3 come back to basics. I love the fact that he craps on the fans that wanted that, saying, you all can kiss my ass. I mean, he had a nice, long, extravagant choice of words for that, but I loved it. It was awesome. Great promo. Got to my man, James Storm. Had some things to say about him, pretty much telling him, sorry about your damn luck. And quite honestly, I'm tired of guys like you that sit up and say, oh, I built this. Get that garbage out of here. It's like, you ain't been doing nothing in a hot minute now. It's all about me right now. It's my time. That's pretty much EC3's message. Well, the Cowboy James Storm came out pretty much pulling a Tupac. Man, I don't hate you. I don't hate you for what you did, man. No, I totally understand. If I was in your position, I pretty much would do the same thing. And from there, James Storm just basically say, you know what, I do have a problem with is the fact that, you know, what did James Storm say? Didn't he say something along the lines of he likes to drink and he likes things that's pretty or something like that? And he looked at EC3 and he's like, well, I'm not drunk, EC3, and you ain't pretty. You're what we call fugly. And the crowd actually started chanting back fugly. But James Storm was spoiling for a fight. That's what he wanted. EC3 really wasn't trying to give it to him. My man James Storm comes right back saying, well, I guess you're not EC3. I guess you're EC bitch. That got the crowd chanting. So we actually ended up seeing, just for a hot second, EC3 and James Storm brawl a little bit. Looked as though James Storm was about to get the upper hand and do a last call super kick, but EC3 quickly made his exit out of the ring, and that pretty much was it. So this is literally going exactly where I said it was going to be going. I think I made this call like about what, 2 weeks ago, and I didn't even check out any spoilers or anything like that, because you know how we try to do it over here. We try to keep it spoiler free for you guys. I may tell you guys, oh, this person's coming, but I may not tell you the circumstances surrounding how it comes about. But for the most part, we try to keep it spoiler free, because I know there's a lot of you guys like me. You don't care about the spoilers. You want to watch it as it happens. I mean, it's one thing if maybe you hear from friends that were in attendance at the Impact tapings, hey, you got to make sure you're watching this match when it airs, because this was really freaking good. Okay, that's word of mouth, that's hype, but otherwise it's like, watch it whenever it comes on. But that was a nice opener that we had got right there as well. Going to our next matchup of the night, we had saw the debuting Christina Von Errie, who is the current Global Force Wrestling Women's Champion. She had a pretty short match against Eva Story. Eva kind of showing a little bit of a mean streak, man. I was a little bit surprised at that. I didn't know she had that fiery in her, man. She just seems like this nice blossom, kind of good. Oh, she wouldn't hurt a fly. She would do something to somebody. She just really came off like that. No, she showed a little bit of a mean streak. I tell you, you know who she reminds me of? I was kind of marinating on it off and on the past couple of weeks since I've had the opportunity to now kind of see her regularly. You know who she reminds me a lot of? Almost like the early beginnings of Taylor Hendricks. And for the love of me, I will never understand why Impact Wrestling. I don't know. Maybe it was a case, just saying, because I don't know the whole story. For all we know, maybe it was a case where Taylor Hendricks decided she wanted to be done with Impact. Maybe it was a case where Impact Wrestling decided they no longer wanted to have anything to do with her. They didn't want to renew her contract. Who knows what the circumstances are? I hope that somewhere in the near future, maybe they can do business again. But when I'm looking at Eva's story, I'm just, for some weird reason, I'm just reminded. I don't think it's necessarily appearance. I think it kind of has a little bit more to do with the in-ring ability. Very green is where I'm getting at. Very similar upbringings to a Taylor Hendricks. But I think in due diligence with the right trainers, I think, I mean, she's still pretty young too. What is she, guys? I think she's like, and you could tell she's young just by looking at her body, because like the way she's shaped, I'm not making fun of her or anything, but just the way she's shaped, you can kind of tell that she's not quite at that. How can I say this without sounding really disrespectful? She's not at, well, I'll put it to you like this. Does anybody remember when Taylor Hendricks had made her debut on the Impact roster? And then like you see how she's blossomed now. Like you see physically where she is now. You know, now that age has caught up to her. Her age has done wonders for her body. Now that she knows about the nutrition, she's working now, she's putting meat on her body and all that. You know, the body looks more, yeah, that's a wrestler build. And it's not like overkill. It's not like she's chiseled or anything like that. I think probably give it about maybe 4 years tops, we'll see Eva's story kind of go in that direction as well. But I think the girl is only like maybe 21. I know she's not 24. I actually would be shocked if she's 24, but she's definitely pretty young when I had looked her up. But yeah, my girl, Christina Von Errie, been a big fan of her work for a couple of years now. Been seeing her really, honestly, for me, anytime I've had the opportunity to check her out, she's been tearing it up at the Shimmer Wrestling promotion. I know she started real early too for her wrestling career. She started in the mid 2000s, and shout out to those of you that are able to connect the dots with her and Dean Ambrose. If you're able to connect the dots just without doing research, you know you're wrestling like that. That should, like, yeah, Lee, I know exactly what you're talking about. Everybody else, you got some fun homework to do this weekend. But shout out for those of you that can recall the connection between her and Dean Ambrose, otherwise known as John Moxley. She briefly was tearing it up in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. She also had a brief stint in the AAA promotion. She briefly had a one-off match, if I'm not mistaken, at Dragon Gate USA. I told you about the Shimmer Wrestling promotion. Really doing a big bulk of stuff over there. If I'm not mistaken, she also did some stuff with the Shine Wrestling Women's promotion as well. Everybody remembers her brief stint for about less than 1 year in Impact Wrestling, though. Pretty much, she had a couple of tryout matches. Next thing you know, she ended up teaming up with Shannon Moore, and they actually had like a dark match. I think they had took on and defeated Cookie and Okada, and then a little bit after that, she was introduced as I actually have my notes right here. I got to look at the name Carduni, basically playing off of her last name. She had aligned herself with Inc. Incorporated. Shout out to those of you that remember that. Then she went through another persona where she was known as Toxin, and she had accompanied Shannon Moore and Jesse Neal down to the ring. And shortly after that, stable had got pretty much blown up, and that was no more. Really, after Neil's departure from Impact Wrestling, she pretty much was done after that. And she had a little bit of a brief stint, as we all mentioned, that Global Force Wrestling was the champion, had a couple of matches defending the title. She basically had defeated Amber Gallows in the finals to become the first ever Global Force Women's Champion. She had a couple of title defenses. She had defeated Kimber Lee, and she also defeated Mickie James in a three-way. Actually, no, correction. No, I did say that right. Those two girls she defeated in the three-way match, and then she also had defeated Amanda Rodriguez and Melanie Cruz. So that kind of gets you a little bit caught up to speed on what she's been doing. So I'm happy that she's back in Impact Wrestling. It's going to take me a while to get used to the new hair, though, man, because honestly, every single time I've seen this girl running around, this girl, she's for me, I've always seen her with a mohawk. And the mohawk, that like automatically made me go, this girl's freaking badass. But she also happens to know how to throw it down and wrestle. And when you look at somebody that's been wrestling since like the mid 2000s and you see where she is now, I highly would encourage you guys to go out of your way. There are a ton of her matches on YouTube, Daily Motion. I would highly encourage you all to look them all up, get caught up to speed. If you're like me and you got some free time, whether it's during lunch break or on a weekend, just next day off of work or whatever, and you like to binge on some stuff on YouTube or Daily Motion, wrestling wise, look up a big bulk of her matches. That will really get you all caught up to speed, and you'll like really appreciate why I love this girl a lot, why I feel like great addition to Impact Wrestling. And it's great that they're bringing her in pretty much as Christina Von Errie, because that's how everybody pretty much knows this girl. So other than that, honestly, those major highlights from there, everything was kind of starting to be a little bit lackluster for the remainder of the show. There was a brief run-in that Magnus had with Alberto El Patron as Mackenzie was backstage just pretty much interviewing the both of those guys. It really started off with Magnus. No, it started off with Alberto El Patron, and then Magnus, I guess, got when Alberto was there, formally introduced himself to Alberto, and he pretty much was like, dude, how dare you like try to jump ahead in the company. Like, you come in night one, you get the championship and all that. It's like, dude, I had helped save Impact Wrestling in an 8-man tag match. And look, I'm the Global Force Wrestling champion. If anybody deserves a shot at the next champion, it's me. And Alberto's like, the hell are you talking about, man? Get out of my face. So these two were actually about to go at it when Karen Jarrett, who popped up, if I'm not mistaken, for the second time in the night. And I got to say, I don't know if maybe Impact Wrestling and or Jeff Jarrett might have been hearing a little bit of what I've been saying the past couple of weeks with what I feel has been working with Impact and what I feel has not been working with Impact. I saw two big things with tonight's episode that made me go, okay, that's more than a coincidence, but you know what? Maybe great minds think alike, so I'm willing to give it the benefit of doubt. But one of the things, and you listeners can back me up on this, is about 2 weeks ago, I had said Karen Jarrett's attire. Ooh, that's very risque. And a lot of people were coming at me going, what, you don't like women? And I thought that was really a hilarious line, because anybody that's been a long time listener has seen my girlfriend Tammy co-host the show with me from time to time on a live stream, or we're doing a podcast version. So I had a nice hearty chuckle at that one. That's fun. Well, maybe you're on the low, man. No, sorry. I mean, this guy right here, straight as a fox. I love my women, man. I love Tammy. I love my women. But no, seriously, I said on this very show, like, man, Karen Jarrett's attire, like, she should be taken seriously if she is going to be like this authority type of figure, one that commands respect and everything. You can't be running around with your boobs pretty much all over the place. Look at me, look at me. So I thought it was pretty interesting that, like, over the course of a couple of episodes since I had said what I said, the cleavage just slowly but surely starts to disappear. And like, now you see what she was wearing tonight. Pretty jazzy. It was definitely really flashy, if you will. More flashier than what Dixie Carter would wear. But she definitely was covered up. So I thought that was a pretty interesting note to bring up to you guys. I don't know if you all had paid attention to that, but now that I'm bringing that to you all's attention, oh, yeah, Lee, you did say that. And if you have it on your DVR, go rewind when you get a chance. You'll see what I'm talking about. She stepped in between these two guys. She pretty much told them straight up, in 2 weeks, not 1 week, 2 weeks, it's going to be Magnus taking on Alberto El Patron for the Global Force Wrestling title. And we should care because I'm just saying, can I be honest? Look, the Global Force Wrestling promotion, it'd be one thing if this title was defended at multiple promotions and like it's been kind of like building prestige that way. It's kind of like the NWA title. Anybody remember how it was with Impact Wrestling, the first rodeo round? They had the NWA title. And as we all know from the well-documented history, Impact Wrestling / TNA and NWA, they had a fallout because NWA, there were certain people within the Impact promotion, the TNA promotion, that they wanted to see as champion, where TNA's like, okay, we get where you're coming from, but this is actually what we thought we were going to be doing. This is really the direction that we want to go instead. And that led to a fallout. NWA's like, well, we'll just take our title. So, and TNA's like, well, we'll just make our own new title. No problem. So, when I think about this Global Force Wrestling title, it's kind of like, well, it's really hard to really care when not that much prestige, renown has been built around this title. I think it would have made all the sense in the world to put another stipulation on top of it. I think, quite honestly, what really should have went down, you should have had Karen Jarrett say to both guys, look, we're going to squash this right now. The both of you, you're going to be fighting. It will be for the Global Force title. Magnus, you honestly have not defended that title in a while, so what better way to defend it than here on Impact? Now that GFW technically has a new home for the time being, we're going to see you in action. And I'll tell you what, whoever wins this match, they're going to be able to face Bobby Lashley for the title. That's really one of the ways that you should have done it. And I know everybody's like, and trust me, I've been paying attention to the headlines. I know eventually there's supposed to be some type of a merger or whatever like that. But you have to, you can't do a merger without really, really putting in the time and the investment into GFW that still does not have that cachet, right? It still does not have that cachet. That's the sad part. So if eventually there is going to be some type of a merger or crossover, hostile takeover, whatever you want to call it, the seeds need to be planted like now more than ever, not later, like now, right now, where fans really need to be given the full, okay, this is what's been going on with Global Force Wrestling. This is what this promotion has been about. Here's how it's playing an impact, no pun intended, on the Impact Wrestling promotion. You really kind of got to go there because honestly, when you look up the history of this company, there's not enough that you can really sink your teeth into. So, but in either case, that match is going to be happening in not 1 week, 2 weeks. It's going to be going down. So other than that, there was, now we're talking about titles and everything. And I said to you guys, show starting to kind of go a little bit on the decline. For me, look, I know a lot of you guys appreciate the grand championship matches. I honestly, I'm not feeling them. And it's nice to kick back and know I'm not the only one that's not really feeling some of these matches. I got to give a shout out to my girl Cheryl via Twitter. We were talking about this. And yes, I'm with her. I think these grand championship matches, am I the only one that wants to say Grand Slam? Like every time I hear that title, for some reason, I'm thinking about Denny's Grand Slam breakfast. Now, some of y'all may be saying, Lee, you a big dude, you just hungry, man. And I would say, nah, I ate a pretty good meal earlier tonight. I'm fine, thank you. But no, seriously, every single time I hear about that title, I'm always thinking Denny's Grand Slam breakfast. All I'm saying is something needs to change with the concept of this title. Because first of all, look, I get it. They're trying to be original. They're trying to be innovative. And you got these judges and they're judging off the whole score points and the silly score points, which really don't mean nothing to me. I kind of understand it, but I don't care about this crap because at the end of the day, sadly, the injuries that the men and women do in this ring, it happens. It can go down. People get injured in that ring doing choreographed moves. You have to be athletic. You got to be on your P's and Q's when you get in that ring. But accidents will happen. But knowing that it's choreographed and the winners and losers have been predetermined, I think we just need to get rid of that whole concept. Let it be done already. Like I was saying to my Twitter buddy Cheryl, and I've been saying this off and on for a couple of months now, but I really want to make sure that here tonight it goes officially on record. I think we need to do away with this concept. And instead, you want to talk about being innovative? Here's a way that you can be innovative. Yeah, it might be a little bit recycled, but if you put your own little unique twist to it, as the way I'm about to suggest it, you can definitely make it very interesting to look forward to, which is make the title be a title that is defended any place, anywhere, at any time, at any promotion. And feel me on this for a second. You think about the fact that Impact Wrestling, they now have this new partnership with the AAA promotion. They just worked on a relationship with Pro Wrestling Noah. All right. So rumor has it that it's very possible that Jeff Jarrett, he might be looking to do some things with Lucha Underground somewhere down the road. Like never say never, right? But you get what Jeff Jarrett is trying to do. He's having all these great relationships with these other promotions. I'm not really sure what's going on with Impact and OVW. I know at one point they had a relationship. I want to say it's dissolved. I believe about 90% certainty that it has dissolved. I'm not sure if that's something that they can kind of reestablish once again. But you see what Jeff Jarrett has been doing within the past couple of months. I think it would just be really awesome if you maybe consider this grand championship concept, if maybe you look at it from the standpoint of, okay, well, what better way to bring new excitement to the viewers? What better way to introduce some of these promotions that we're partnering up with, talents that maybe you'll exclusively only be able to see at these other promotions, but because they are the grand champion or whatever, you definitely got to change the name of that as well. You got to change the name of that. If you ask me honestly, what I would do, I know they're getting ready to do the thing with the belt mergers and all that, but I wish the concept that I'm talking about would actually go to that Global Force championship title instead, but it is what it is. You can kind of go on ahead and treat this grand title, do it the way I'm suggesting. But I think that would really be cool. Talk about a nice way to be introduced to talents from other promotions, get a nice little backdrop on them. Also gives the opportunity for Impact Wrestling and these other promotions to just kind of keep cross branding, keep sharing talents that way. And just think about it. How cool is that to basically adopt like the hardcore title 24/7 rules? I mean, that was like one of the most greatest highlights of the night on Mondays or on Thursdays or whenever the heck SmackDown was on back in the day. Like you never knew like when that title was going to be defended and all that. I think that's something under the right circumstances and you really take the time to think it out. That'd be one hell of a freaking concept. I personally feel so. We'll see how they do with regards to that one. Other than that, looking at some more stuff that's going on here. Some other stuff happened on Impact. Oh, by the way, Moose, Davey Richards, they were going at it for the grand title. That match got interrupted in the closing moments of the match as we had saw my man Eddie Edwards come on down to the ring, still pissed off at what had went down a couple of weeks ago. My man Eddie Edwards trying to get that revenge. Them two, man, they going at it big time. I think this is all going to culminate at Slammiversary. That's the way that it's looking right now. Security pretty much had to break those two guys up. So we actually did not see a decisive winner for that particular matchup. Next up, we had a guy debuting, Matt Simon. I believe that was his name. I might be pronouncing it wrong because they maybe have pronounced it differently. But Matt Simon, I'm going to call him for now. We saw him in a squash match against Congo Kong. Poor Congo Kong. He's already getting the bad chance of cheap-ass haircut. I feel sorry for my man. Here's the second thing that I noticed with regards to Impact Wrestling. I told you the first one, which was about Karen Jarrett's wardrobe. The second thing that I noticed tonight that made me go, let me find out. Impact Wrestling might be checking out what I might be saying. But again, I'm willing to give the benefit of doubt in saying great minds think alike. And that's cool. Only reason why I keep saying that is because from time to time, Impact Wrestling has retweeted, refavorited some things that I have said. Impact Talents from time to time have retweeted, favorited some things that I've said. I know of Impact Wrestling talents that check out the shows that I do from time to time. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe, hey, I was checking out this show the other day and, you know, they make a good point that I'm just saying word of mouth. But for now, great minds think alike. Was checking out my girl, Laura Van Ness. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I said to you guys, her attire, it's always pretty, white, clean. It's never dirty. If she's going to keep coming out and supposedly wearing the same dress, they need to go on ahead and they need to like dirty it up already. We should see it get dirty over the course of time. Assuming this girl is like, you know, not bathing, right? She's not bathing. You would hope that maybe she's going to the bathroom, right? Like she is at least doing that and she's not going on herself, right? But I was telling you all, her dress needs to start looking dirty, right? If she can't eat, she can't sleep like that. If her mind is that all twisted, then like hygiene out the window. And what's happening here on this very episode? First time I actually had noticed this. I'm looking at her dress and I'm going, wow, her dress is actually starting to look dirty now. Look like there was a urine stain. You had a brown stain. Her dress was actually, see, I got to go to my man, Freddie. Even Freddie in the chat here, even he noticed it off the break. Yes, her dress was actually dirty. Now just rewind it back. On this very show, nobody else was talking like this. Just think about that for a second. Nobody else made that observation on this show. I said to you guys at least 2 weeks ago, maybe even 3 weeks ago, I said they got to do something with that dress. If she's going to keep coming out and she's going to be this deranged girl, then she's got to commit fully to being that part. Dirty to dress up, the makeup, all that. It's got to be smeared. She got to look like she hasn't washed her face in like weeks or whatever. The hair has got to get twisted. Crap's got to get put in it. What were my exact words? I said, I know she can't put like a lollipop in her hair or whatever, but that hair needs to look worn out. I mean, she got to have like Counting Crows lead singer. It's got to get the weird twists, Jonathan Davis, weird rap type of funky hair. That's what she's got to get going on. And now she's starting to kind of go there. All I'm saying, mighty coincidence. For now, I'll just say great minds think alike, man. Congo Kong, though, squash match over my man, Matt Simon. We saw the Veterans of War. They made their debut. It was Mario Bakura and Falas Ba. They were taking on the Veterans of War. So now we know officially who are Veterans of War. It is Wilcox and Mayweather. Mayweather? But hold up, I gotta actually confirm that. I'm not thinking Floyd Mayweather or anything, but if I'm not mistaken, Mayweather is the real name of the guy that was known as Crimson. He's now going by his real name. I was close. I said it was Crimson, and it is Mayweather. Yeah, his real name is Anthony Mayweather. Sometimes when I'm typing my notes, it does auto spell check. So take, for instance, the guy I just referred to earlier, Falaba. Well, the auto spell, it basically corrected itself and it called him Dallas Ba. So yeah, you gotta like catch stuff like that. That's Android for you, always thinking ahead for you. But no, Mayweather, otherwise known as Crimson, I got that part right. I was under the impression that maybe the other guy was going to be Gunner, but sadly, no, not Gunner. But shout out to him. We talked about him earlier this week on the show. Rewind, check that out when you guys get a chance. Mayweather's partner, a guy called Will Cox, and we pretty much understood their story. Basically, they served their country. They did it proudly. They made the ultimate sacrifice, and they decided that they wanted to get into pro wrestling. At least that's the impression I'm given. We've seen this in Impact Wrestling done before. We've seen it with Chris Melendez. And by the way, I just think that's so sad when you really stop and think about it, that a guy like Chris Melendez had the opportunity to be in Impact Wrestling, and here was a guy that served his country, and he had some decent matches, but I mean, he was nowhere near Michael B.S. Hayes. I'm not talking about Freebirds. I'm talking about Michael Hayes that was over in O.V.W. I think he has since retired. Young guy. He was a young up-and-coming guy. He was in the military as well. He had lost his leg. He was a hell of a wrestler, though. And I know there were a lot of people that was looking at Melendez in-ring ability, and they basically were like, Lee, got to be honest, man. That dude, he's the drizzles, man. He ain't really got it. And they weren't being dicks about it. Like, it wasn't a case where they were ripping on him for being a one-legged wrestler. They basically were saying, okay, of the guys we've seen so far over the years, your Zach Gowans, the Michael Hayes that I had mentioned, and a couple of others, it's like, nah, man, this guy, he's pretty weak in the ring, honestly. But I just think it's kind of crappy that like they couldn't hold out a little bit longer to try to figure out what would be the right placement that they could do with him. And so like this would have been perfect for him right about now. So hopefully they have the guy come on back, because I know he actually did a big bulk of his training for free, if I'm not mistaken, at Team 3D Academy. So it is what it is. I really wasn't, honestly, I wasn't that impressed with some of what I had saw of V.O.W's debut. I always felt with regards to Crimson, that was a guy that had a lot of potential, and he's still pretty young. He's only 31 years of age. So many awesome moments come to my mind. I definitely remember the undefeated streak that he had going on. What was it? He had like 340 days of an undefeated streak. And the way it ended was just like BS. Didn't it end at Slammiversary or something like that when James Storm had returned? And I mean, it was like, wham, that pretty much was it for the undefeated streak. I remember when Crimson had teamed up with Matt Morgan and they were able to go win the tag titles. I remember that. That was an awesome team up that they had going on. That's probably one of the most significant moments that I actually remember of his career. And the guy was there in Impact Wrestling from like what, 2010, probably right on up until about what, maybe 2014. Then he kind of really sparingly started to be utilized. It got delegated to him appearing at TNA one night only events, and then it just fizzled out. Budget costs or budget cuts, rather, they pretty much showed him the exit. You know, it's like, you ain't do nothing wrong. It's just we can't afford you. We're making cuts. So I'm happy to see him back in Impact Wrestling, but I don't like how it's kicking off. Maybe I'm being a little bit too critical, but I swear, guys, I've seen this whole military thing done so many times. It's been beaten to death. You know, honestly, it seems like everybody's trying to be like Sergeant Slaughter or whatever, man. So, you know, yeah, I agree with Mofo Zombie. Crimson got a lot of hype. Yeah, I mean, way too much hype. I think that would have been a more interesting team if it would have been Gunner and if it would have been Crimson. And I want you all to do me a solid. I'm going to take my own advice that I'm about to give you all, and I'm going to actually go back and look at the footage myself. But I swear to you guys, when they were initially showing the video packages for V.O.W, try saying that 10 times fast. 10 times fast. When they were originally showing the vignettes for V.O.W, I swear you actually saw like partial in the video clip of Crimson's face. So I'm a little bit curious. Not Crimson. You definitely saw a little bit of Crimson, but I swear you also saw Gunner. So I'm under the impression that maybe things didn't fall through with Gunner or what, but I swear I saw Gunner in the video packages. Let me know if you all saw him in the packages as well. Maybe I was just seeing stuff. Who knows? Other than that, real quickly, we saw Swoggle, aka Hornswoggle, Little Horny. We saw him. He actually, all throughout the night, we saw him just running around. At one point, he was rubbing on the hair of Rockstar Spud, saying hello to him. And then we see Rockstar Spud's announce papers get taken away from him by Swoggle. This leads to a Benny Hill moment with Spud chasing the guy all around the ring. Finally get into the middle of the ring. We see Swoggle. He actually tries to run under the legs of Spud. Spud manages to grab just the sweatpants, and poor Swoggle, he's running around. All he has on is just his underwear and an Impact t-shirt. He feels embarrassed, and he runs all the way to the back. Later on, pretty much after a commercial break, we see Spud lying on the ground as Swoggle is taking a hammer to Spud's knees. I mean, he went mafia style on Rockstar Spud. Hilarious. I loved it. I was eating every single moment of this. It was pure entertainment at its finest. That was it for Rockstar Spud. He's out. Love seeing Swoggle, the deranged Swoggle, just go belligerent with that hammer, man. That was awesome. Main event match of the night. Crazy Steve and Abyss fight against LAX for the tag titles. Great matchup. That was actually a pretty good matchup. I thought that was a really good, strong closer for tonight's Impact Wrestling, I must say. And as serious as a woman on her period, LAX keeping the retain. We can pick it up pretty much towards the final moments of that matchup without going all into overkill. By the way, I definitely want to show some love to my man Low Key. Low Key has some awesome video packages all throughout the night, pretty much chronicling his debut at TNA. the multiple times that he had became the X Division champion, pretty much talking about every single time he stepped foot in the ring, all eyes are on him, basically saying that, like, with him back into the fold on top of the mountain as far as being X Division champion, basically got to raise that bar excellence. It was some really nice, good video packages, man. But man, when you hear my man talk, that is one wicked ass voice. If that dude ever decided he wanted to maybe do some type of MMA announcing or whatever, he's got the voice for it, man. I mean, he's got that voice. He'd be lasting for years to come, man. He's got that thunderous voice, man. I'm liking that. Closing moments of the match, we saw LAX. They actually had put Abyss through a barbed wire board sandwich in the corner. It was a really awesome spot. We then saw Santana leap off Ortiz's back and directly into Abyss and the boards. Crazy Steve comes into the ring, hits a Death Valley driver on Ortiz into the opposite corner of Abyss. Steve then attempts to pin Ortiz, but Conan pulls referee Brian Hebner out of the ring. Homicide does a run-in and tries to attack Steve, but he's thrown to the outside. Steve then sets up Ortiz on a table, throws thumbtacks on top of him. Steve then attempts a moonsault on top of Ortiz, but is intercepted by Santana and Homicide. LAX then hits a powerbomb / neck breaker on Steve from the top rope. They all land into the table with tacks on it. Ortiz pins Crazy Steve for the retain. LAX still your tag champion. So that was a nice little spot that we saw go down. The girls, they even had win at it. I can't think of my girl's name. You got to forgive me. It's going to take me a while before I start really remembering her name. But she has been owning my girl Rosemary the past couple of weeks. They've been locking it up. I think it's just a matter of time before DeMonte. I think it's just a matter of time before them two girls lock it up, man. I'm telling you. By the way, hey, look, just to show you guys that I'm not all serious all the time about my damn wrestling, I noticed DeMonte got a little something going on in the back, man. She's got a little junk in the trunk. I see my girl. I like that. I like it. Kind of growing on me. I like them short and cute. I gotta say, and they kind of stack too. I like that. But no, Impact Wrestling tonight was actually a pretty good, solid episode, man. Despite all the craziness we got going on. Heads up, because I'm getting ready to wrap this up. We got the third quarter right now with about 10 minutes left. I'm talking about Spurs taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. Right now, it is 47-54. Memphis is beating them. A lot of stuff going on. We still got the NFL draft that's on right now. So a lot of crazy stuff that's going down. Poking my head in the chat before we wrap up the stream for tonight, seeing what y'all had thought about Impact Wrestling. See my man Freddie, he thought it was a really good show. J Rock thought it was a really good show as well. Sean Simpson thought Impact was on fire tonight. See, you all are really appreciating Impact being consistent. See what we got going on here. Reading some more comments here. Don't mind me, guys. Yeah, Congo Kong. Yeah, he probably does love Denny's, man. You might be on something. Exactly, Freddie. At least spill some chocolate milk. Yes, at least spill some chocolate milk. Something on the dress. Roll around in mud. Do something. Exactly. Yeah, Gunner, WWE. Yeah, that's the report that's floating around that he's possibly going to the WWE. Hey, do me a favor. Give this a thumbs up, man. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. Share it. If you haven't subscribed yet, do subscribe. I will be back live here on YouTube. I will be back this Sunday for you WWE fans. We're going to be covering the WWE Payback pay-per-view. It's going to be our after show. I'll be live on here and on Spreaker.com. Support me on Patreon, patreon.com/RCWR show. Do great exclusive bonus content every single month, which, by the way, work has been kicking my butt. Before you all that have been patiently waiting for some bonus content, I promise you guys, I know I've been promising you all, it is my duty to please you all. I'm going to be having some content. By the way, I will actually be on Facebook this Friday, facebook.com/VRCWR show. I'll be on Facebook Live at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'll actually be offering payback predictions in a special installment of our Call That Match series. So make sure you tune in for that. That's going to be really freaking awesome. But that's going to do it for now. Shout out to everybody that appeared in the chat to interact. Shout out to Mofo. Shout out to TJD. Shout out to J Rock. Shout out to Freddie. Shout out to Jonathan. My Redskin shirt is actually my girl's shirt, and I just like sleeping in it. Honestly, Redskins ain't even my team. Anybody that knows, I have many teams that I follow, but I do love me some Cowboys. I gotta say, of all the teams, Cowboys was the first jersey that I ever officially got that I was like, I want that. And I got my man Dak Prescott. I got two Cowboys. One of them, though, is a Dak Prescott jersey. So I hope, though, for you Redskins fans, you can hate, but I hope Redskins gets rid of Kirk Cousins, because for me, just saying, just brief football talk, but for me, the guy is inconsistent. He is not deserving, at least not in Washington. He is not deserving of a multi-year deal. He's just very inconsistent. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'll have a lot more to say with regards to the NFL draft and all that pretty much next week. Then again, I might do something on Patreon. You never know. You just got to keep your eyes tuned to YouTube and all the other social media platforms. You never know, man. But shout out to everybody. Appreciate everybody that's going to be checking this out on demand and on the downloads. I will catch you all Facebook Live, 7 p.m. for the payback. Call That Match edition predictions. All right, everybody, good night. Good morning.